Testing. It's good? Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulih al-kareem amma ba'd. Now, what is the overarching theme of today's section? It's belief in things that are essentially beyond physics. Right? Angels are essentially beyond physics. Right? And so the point being that there is a very, very strong rational element of our deen, that if you only know Islam, it's easy to take it for granted how rational our deen is, right? How much everything makes sense. But even then, there are elements within our deen that we believe because we are told to believe in them, right? That's basically the bottom line. And then, ayah 100 and 101 are continuing this point from the same perspective. We were speaking about belief in the angels, and then ayah 100, sorry, I keep forgetting that what you see is not what I see. أَوَكُلَّمَا أَعْهَدُوا. So is it that whenever they make ahadu ahdan, that whenever they make a pact, or they confirm a pact, نَبَذَهُ فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ بَلْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. So, that is it that whenever they make a pact, some of them essentially they toss it aside. Okay. Now, previously, when we spoke about keeping a pact, we spoke about it in relationship with action, right? We said that, all right, you have to believe, you have to worship Allah, you have to be good to your parents, you have to be good to the kin, to the orphans, to the needy. You have to speak good to all of mankind. You have to make your prayers. You have to do the zakat. And then, in addition, you cannot drive your people out of their homes, and you cannot shed the blood of your own people. But then, what we saw in the story of Bani Israel is that they were contradicting all of those things in action. Here, we're speaking of breaking your pact in terms of belief. Okay? That if I am saying La ilaha illallah, then by extension, Allah is telling us we also have to believe in Muhammad Rasulullah, and by extension, we also have to believe in angels. So here, how are these people throwing their covenant behind their back? They're believing in some things, but they're not believing in other things. Okay? And for most of us, this is not going to be an issue, right? We've already been conditioned that you believe in Allah, you believe in the angels, you believe in the books, you believe in the messengers, you believe in the divine decree, so forth and so on. But this can be a challenge for some people who are new to belief, that you also have to believe this, you also have to believe this, and it takes time. So, ayah 101 is continuing this point. Well, I won't go through I won't read the whole piece-by-piece translation. And whenever a messenger comes to them from Allah, confirming what is already with them, some of them, again, same point, some of them who have received the kitab, it's as though they toss the kitab behind their backs, as though they didn't know about it. Again, for our purposes, we've already discussed much of what's being discussed here. That when you're making a pact with Allah, part of it is what do you believe in, part of it is what do you act upon, and you have to fulfill the whole thing. This is our lifelong goal. Some people will pretend that, no, I didn't know any of this. This has been one of our ongoing threads. An excuse that some people have given in the past is, okay, I can't believe because my heart is completely wrapped up. I'm too deep. Another excuse that people give is that they plead ignorance, even though they were not ignorant. And for our purposes, this is not really a big stretch. There are other stories behind this ayah related to the time of the Prophet that we're going to hold off on. But the basic point being that there are some people who, when the Prophet comes along to them, peace be upon him, they pretend that they don't even know what is in their book. It is a surprise to them. But for our purposes, we'll leave it at that. Ayah 102 is going to bring us into our interesting discussion. Okay. That these people, they follow, when they are throwing the book behind their back, what do they do instead? They follow what the devils have falsely related to the kingdom of Solomon, peace be upon him, Suleiman. But Suleiman did not disbelieve, but the devils disbelieved, teaching mankind magic and that which was revealed to the two angels in Babylon, Harut and Marut. Nor did the two angels teach it to anyone except that they said, we are only a temptation, therefore do not reject. And from these two, people learned what causes division between man and wife. But they injure nobody except by Allah's permission, and they learn not that which and they learn what harms them and does not give them any profit. And surely they do not know, or they do know, that whoever gets involved in this will have no happiness in the hereafter, and evil is the price for which they sell their souls, if they only knew. Okay, what is the first point here? We're going to go through this piece by piece. If I am rejecting something, I am embracing something else. Okay? We all believe in something. Everybody believes in something. So if I believe in the book, that Allah has revealed, then automatically I am rejecting other things. Okay? Right. This is a simple point we all understand. Sometimes it's difficult to say. That if I'm believing in the Quran, then I am, by extension, rejecting quite a few other beliefs that people believe in. Okay? If I'm rejecting the book of Allah, then I am embracing something else. And here there are some people who, what are they embracing? They're embracing magic. Okay? Well, let's take this piece by piece. What was falsely attributed to Suleiman? That there were some people who accused Suleiman alayhi salam, a'udhu billah, of being a mushrik. Some people went so far as to say that he worshipped his wives. Okay? That's not our tradition. Our tradition is what about the prophets, peace be upon them? That they had perfect character. Right. They made mistakes. They definitely made mistakes. Some of those are recounted in the Quran. That they were perfect. Okay? So they definitely were not mushriks. What about Ibrahim alayhi salam? Okay. Like when we look in the passages of Ibrahim alayhi salam, there's those passages of turning to the sun, turning to the moon, turning to the stars. How does that work? If we're saying that none of these were ever mushriks, and even the Quran says he was not a mushrik.
His reasoning is very vague.
There's two arguments that are here. One argument is that he is exploring this as a possibility, and he's saying, no, it doesn't work. You know. Sorry? So he's searching, and then when he finds it, then he connects to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other is that he's actually doing an argument in the form of da'wah, that he comes across to some people who are sun worshippers, and then he says, hypothetically, let us worship the sun. No, the sun sets. Right. Let us worship the moon. No, the moon, we can't worship that either. Let us worship the stars. So there's two understandings of the passages about Ibrahim alayhi salam. One is this exact point, that he's reasoning through and saying, okay, no, this can't be God, this can't be God, this can't be God, it's the Creator. But the other reasoning is that he's actually doing da'wah to specific people each time. Saying that, okay, it doesn't make sense that you're going to worship this because the sun sets or the sun goes away. Right. It doesn't make sense that you're going to worship the stars because the stars go away. You know, we should worship the Creator. How does that play at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him? Okay, you are worshiping these stones that can't even help themselves. Right. So, yeah. So, but the point I'm making is that some people argue that, okay, Ibrahim alayhi salam was actually worshiping those things, but according to our tradition, he was not. Okay.
He was turning.
Say it again. So. Okay. Yeah, so the argument that's given there is that he's actually giving a rhetorical argument in terms of da'wah.
Tried and error.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he has come across some people who are worshiping those things, and he's giving them a hypothetical. Okay, this is my Lord. No, this can't be my Lord. Right. Yeah.
But it doesn't say that in the Quran.
No, these are the interpretations. Yeah, these are.
I mean, usually in the Quran there are like a discussion between a messenger and the people. Dawah choose will explain.
Yeah. Right.
This one it doesn't say anything.
No, these are the interpretations of those passages. Absolutely. Yeah. So this is just a point that there are some who say that Sulaiman alayhi salam worshipped his wives, and that is not our tradition. Okay. Now, what about magic? So I took a class on history and philosophy of science not too long ago. And our teacher says that we have, now this is a historian of science, he says that we have to give space for this thing called magic. Okay? That even at the time where people believed in alchemy, there was a different category called magic. Okay. And he says that looking through all these books and journals, there's too much evidence to say that, okay, there's no such thing as magic. Because what's being described in these old books from the Middle Ages, 1,000 years ago, 600 years ago, 400 years ago, is somebody does this step and this step and this step. We have no scientific explanation, but all these people are witnessing it, okay, over and over again. And he says this directly, that there is, we have to give space, a category for something that is called magic. Right now, we don't know what it is. Right? So what is magic? Or what are the different types of magic? So the common one that we're used to in our culture is, David Blaine, David Copperfield, all these people that are doing illusions. What was the magic at the time of Prophet Musa, peace be upon him? Was it illusion? The staffs and everything? One understanding is that they were actually just doing an illusion. Yeah. Okay. But is there something different? Something much more legitimate? Or let's go to the other extreme. Is it possible for a magician to change something into something else? From lead into gold? What do you think? I don't think we have any evidence anywhere that that's possible. Right? Otherwise, we'd have a lot of people who are doing it. Right? So, generally speaking, our scholars are skeptical about that. Right? Can you change something into something else? But then there's the space in between. Those things that seem to defy our understanding of what is possible in terms of physics. Okay. The basic point here is that there is something here called magic. We might, in terms of our scientific skepticism, say that it's just something that we'll be able to explain later on. Maybe. Okay. But that seems to be what's going on here. Yes, ma'am.
For one thing, it's talking about don't practice magic, which means it must be true.
Okay.
It must exist.
Sihr, okay.
And then secondly, I thought the explanation for magic was like using gems or whatever, like the supernatural story for interaction using that.
Okay, so the question being that is magic essentially like getting jinns involved and such? Look at it two ways. I've heard both. One is that it's all involving jinns, and others have said both. There's even two separate categories. One category is messing around with jinns, another category is black magic. Okay. And so, what is the deeper point here? Why would someone resort in the first place to something like magic? I'm sorry?
Gain something.
What are you gaining?
Power,
That often, why would someone do this is for some attainment of power. And even deeper than that, why would someone resort to something like this? It's a shortcut. Yes, sir?
What about magic for, in our case, entertainment?
Magic for entertainment, I mean, that's just illusion.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I like watching David Copperfield get rid of the Statue of Liberty or whatever he did way back then, Would I consider it haram to? I'm too afraid to even consider that question, right?
Because it is magic in a sense.
I think it's kind of like the word Sufi. Like if some Sufis, when we're speaking about Sufis, we're talking about legitimate Orthodox Islam. In other cases, we're talking about goofy things that people practice, right? So magic, if we speak of David Copperfield and those people, I don't see what the big deal is. Allah knows best. Or those card tricks. I love good card tricks, right? Because what's part of the fun? Part of the fun is how did he do it, right? And then if we...
But it's different from what we are seeing.
That's different than what's being mentioned here. Yeah?
What we see it is more like entertainment.
Yeah.
Not getting any money out of it.
Yeah, sure.
I've heard other people say as long as you don't attribute power to the person who's doing it, it's okay. In other words, if you think David Copperfield has an exceptional skill, then that's bordering on shirk. But if you know it's just an illusion, and he's got mirrors there and he's got a cast of people who are playing along with him, then it's a different story.
I think this is the basic point, right? If you start thinking, wow, David Copperfield must be a djinn, okay, then I think you're not using your imagination enough, right? Part of the fun of a magic trick is how do they do it, Right. Yeah, this would be a good time to start doing a magic trick during our class. I'll be banned from every khutbah, from every masjid, like ever, right? Okay. Now, let me tell you something else that's interesting about these two angels. I had a student who was very, very interested in African history. And when he saw Harut and Marut specifically being mentioned, he pulls out this book of African history and mysticism, and he finds these two being mentioned in his book there, right? Yeah, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Why would the angels who are there to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't have free will to be doing this kind of stuff?
Okay, the perfect next question. When we think of angels, they only do good. They do not disobey Allah. Why are they here? Yeah, they're not disobeying Allah here. That this is their purpose there. They're coming here saying, we are giving you this knowledge, okay, but you're not supposed to use it. Okay. Yeah.
So something like fishes coming up on Sabbath.
Something like fishes coming up on Sabbath, exactly. This is actually a good way for us to understand angels. The way we think of animals and trees and mountains as having no free will, look at angels the same way. Somebody in the back was raising a hand. Reba? Yeah, it's exactly. It's a trial.
People from the old time, they see a plane, 300 people flying in the sky. They would say this is something.
Yeah, sure. No, I've met people of a certain Muslim group that does not need to be mentioned that have even said, don't look in a telescope because Shaitan is showing you what's on the other side.
You step down on the moon, you pick up a little phone and call half the world away. I mean, this is something beyond magic. I don't think even in those days anybody could have done. Maybe. I don't know.
The Prophet went to Jerusalem in like a moment. No. But the point is taken, right? But so what are we saying here? That there is something definitely that is magic. Okay? What's being described beyond that is not being described, but it is something that is being used for harm. And what is the harm? It's splitting husband and wife. What does that mean? That these are harms that split up society. If you split up husband and wife, then what are you essentially doing? You're taking down the family. And if you're taking down the family, you're taking down all of society. That our tradition, what a point we made at the beginning of the discussion, is that our tradition places heavy emphasis on knowledge. Okay? But there is also knowledge that is not beneficial, that can actually be harmful.
How does that count the whole world?
Well, in many traditions, it's actually the other way around. Many traditions are very, very hostile to knowledge. Right?
No, what I'm saying, magic, like in India.
It's even present here.
Latin culture, even in America.
Yeah.
That practiced in hand reading and this and that, and all kind of, the shamans.
To help make it more acceptable to a lot of people. Like this is a question that we were having about exorcism during the break, right? What we can say is that it seems over and over again is that a person with such and such symptoms, when you go through these steps, we're reciting these ayahs and such and such, then those symptoms seem to go away, right? So there's an efficacy there, right? But the interesting thing about our American culture is that exorcisms, the call for exorcisms has been rising, by leaps and bounds, right? Now, what does that mean? Why would that be the case? The Vatican is getting many, many more calls. Like the number of calls they get for exorcisms has been skyrocketing. My Muslim scholar friends get more and more calls, far more than they have 10 years ago. Why?
Pakistani newspaper.
Well, see, this is interesting. That a lot of the scholars say here's the steps you should take. First, you should do dua. Okay. If dua doesn't work, then what? 3 steps, then what? You go to a physician, okay? And then if that doesn't work, then you go for the exorcism. Right?
Psychotic breakdown. It's very hard to say.
Okay, so it might be a psychotic breakdown. What if they're both the same thing? Yeah?
Like you were saying, mental illness is the form of witchcraft, or I didn't understand.
So the point being that, okay, if someone is suffering from something that a physician would diagnose as depression, schizophrenia, and then you have a person who comes along and recites these ayahs in this order, if it takes away the symptoms, What do you think about it?
I totally believe it.
Okay. So the one story we have is a prophet of bulls. But this is the point that I'm making, right? That commonly, whenever we have something that's unexplainable, or that's unexplained, we jump to the jinn explanation. But I'm saying, okay, forget all that. If we take it from the perspective of treatment of condition, right? And then see, right, this person has such and such specific symptoms. Because some of these books get pretty precise. That if this happens and this happens and this happens, then you have to recite this and this and this and this, right? And the basic question, why do we follow religion? One reason we follow religion is efficacy, that it works, right? I mean, a lot of us, we follow religion just because that's what we're raised in, and, you know, there's fear and hope and all those things. But deeper than that, the goal is that you go through such and such steps and they work for you.
Yeah, but I mean, if somebody gives me money, and only recite this and this, then I'll be skeptical.
You should be skeptical, right? I mean, if a physician is telling me, you know, don't get a second opinion, just listen to me, then I should be skeptical of him too. Yeah.
That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I had a
Oh, you're raising a question? Oh, okay.
Yeah, is this happening a lot now?
This is happening so much in our Muslim community that we'd be shocked. But what else is rising in our Muslim community? Drug addiction is also rising tremendously, right? Much more breakdowns. So yeah, the question I was raising is why. One reason is probably that a lot of our utopian, our ideals about what is our condition are kind of getting shattered, and so now we're looking for ways to fix everything. And so people would prefer more to go for a jinn treatment than to go to a therapist.
I had a guy, this is a pretty nice guy. His wife he was telling me a story that his wife got a temperature, and for 1 month the doctor couldn't treat her. She said, finally there's a Hawaiian priest in this church. She was from Hawaii too. So we went to the priest, and the priest says, have you got something, skull or something came out? And I said, well, about a month ago our gas busted, and so we were digging, and the skull came out. He said, that skull belongs to an Indian guy. Pour some beer on him.
And did it work?
And he says, yeah, it's my wife's temperature went down. That was amazing to me, because the guy looked very genuine. Yeah, I'll go help.
Maybe.
I'll go help.
Yes. Possibly, yeah. But this is the point that I'm making, that if you go through step, and if it leads to a removal of the illness, then, what can we say? I think you're talking more about maybe something else. Yeah. Now the case the current. Yes.
If it's authentic or valid sources that say do this or this, I would trust it. But if somebody says that read this or recite this and they can't explain where they got it from, I think that's just using it and it happened to work for one person. So then they
well, this is a really a very important point. So it's one thing if it's coming from an authentic source and then you follow it. This is why I'm emphasizing that. Okay, the last two surahs are very, very strong, very powerful. Okay, but the other issue is what if it's not found in any text? I'm saying it doesn't delegitimize it, right? But it may be the same as. Thankfully we don't do this anymore with our computers, but what do you do when your TV starts, the image starts shaking? What's the first thing you do? You smack it as hard as you can. There was probably somebody 30 years ago who did that, and it worked, right? And so we've all been conditioned that, all right, if the screen is bad, then if I smack it, then everything's going to be fine, even though I'm probably causing more damage to the TV, right? Yeah. I mean, you can't do it as much with your phone anymore, but the point I'm saying is that if it's not in text, it doesn't mean it's illegitimate, right? But it's perfectly reasonable to be skeptical, right? Just like if I'm sick, here's a physician's office, and right next to it is a homeopath like GNC or something. Okay, I'm going to go to the physician, right? Because the physician already has my trust because of certification.
But all these major miracles or something, it does not show the criteria of the spiritual status of the person.
Explain.
Any miracles even is not supposed to be done, because God does miracle every day, so people don't see it. But if other people do any little raise from the dead or something, so it's taken it's a pretty good thing.
Okay, you just lost me with raised from the dead, but let's come back. Okay. All right. So we have a couple of very big, heavy points here in this surah. One is about Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, that he was not a mushrik as some people accuse him of. Two, the role of these angels. The angels were not misguiding people; they were sent. This is their job to present themselves, but the people chose then to commit sin. And three, there is knowledge that is harmful, that is so harmful that it can lead to a complete breakdown of society, starting from the split between husband and wife. But, actually maybe I can highlight this. But keep in mind that when harm happens, it is Allah that is allowing it to happen. Okay. It's like Casey made the point a few moments ago that you can't give these people like more power than they have. That the power is coming from Allah. That if someone uses magic or something like that for bad things to happen, Allah has allowed it to happen. Okay. Does anybody know about this mystery guy? Maybe I should ask it after. I'll ask it after the camera's off. Remind me after the camera's off. Okay. And so the other point is that there is, or as mentioned, there is knowledge that is harmful. But if you get involved with these things, you are basically walking the pathway to hell. Okay. So these things are there. Okay. On the flip side, ayah 103. Okay. Yes, please.
It's like the question about the angels, or if they do it. The second line there says, "Begin to leave of the devil's discipline."
Yeah.
And it's literally shaitan.
Shaitan in the Quran is not necessarily Shaitan himself. It's not necessarily Iblis. So Shaitan is often an attribute of behavior, like evildoer.
It's not the devil's minion?
The devil's minions in the sense that, but it's not necessarily jinns, correct. Because like, for example, all the way back in the beginning of the surah, that when they're with the believers, they say, "We believe," but when they're with their shaitans, they say, "We're actually with you." Yeah. Shaitan is more of an attribute. You know, Iblis is, even Iblis is an attribute. That's not his real name. Yes?
Another question. So Iblis is one.
Iblis is one specific jinn who is the ultimate shaitan. Right.
But he has a lot of tribes or something?
I'm sorry?
There are more millions of...
But a human can be a shaitan.
When they say like...
as my parents will tell you. Yeah. Shaitan ke aulad. I'm sorry?
Shaitan tempted me to do it. I've heard that.
Okay, so when someone says shaitan tempted me, then they're referring to Iblis, right? But shaitan is also a generic term that we would perhaps translate as something like evildoer. Okay. So,
they don't need shaitan.
Sorry?
Shaitan has set them up so much that they don't need shaitan anymore.
That would be a different point that we're still committing sins when Iblis, shaitan, is locked up. The general notion is that the wrong within you, the nafs, is stronger than 60 devils. So, yeah, maybe 70. So when you're born, shaitan, the devil, assigns a jinn to you, to every single person who's responsible for knowing you and watching you and learning you inside and out. So, but he's working for shaitan. And so then the companions asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, even you have this? And he said, yes, but mine became Muslim. Yeah.
So this man is going to Hajj, and in Sahara he got lost.
Okay.
Somebody came in and he says, I'll show you the way. And he's going in.
Okay.
And he says, this is the way. And the guy asks him, who are you?
Okay.
He says, I'm the devil.
Okay.
But you don't show the right way. He says, I don't play with everybody. You're a man of God. I don't joke with you. The ones who want to get lost, I help them.
What else are we taught? That when Omer would walk down the street, Shaitan would cross to the other side of the street, right? There's even stories of Shaitan would wake up such and such person for Fajr, because this is a person who normally wakes up for Fajr, and he didn't want this person to then ask for forgiveness and be in even better shape, right? So, yeah. And the final point about these people is very simple. If they believed and had taqwa, okay, then whatever Allah could have given them would have been better. Okay. Why? So, aside from the issue of magic, why are people going to magic? They're going to magic as a shortcut, right? Rather than actually to go through the process of working and earning whatever you have. Okay. And so look at this, the issue of people going to magic. How are they going to hell? On the one hand, they're going to something that they're not supposed to, but they're also abandoning work. Okay. Going through the steps that you should to win your salvation. Again, our tradition is a meritocracy. Yes.
Is this the last ayat that addresses Bani Israel?
This the last ayat that addresses Bani Israel is 123. So that'll be probably in about 2 weeks, inshallah. Was it related to anything in particular, or?
No, I just looking at the next.
This is now when we're going to see Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu for the first time. Yeah.
In this translation, there is wattaqu.
Wattaqu.
Is that discipline or is it fear?
It is shield yourself.
وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقُوا.
Yeah. I don't like fear as a translation here. Yeah.
That's what I.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you please give one more time the taqwa definition?
To take a shield. Yeah.
What is shield?
What about being aware of Allah?
That is essentially what it means. If I'm taking Allah as a shield.
Like for a fifth grader, how should I explain it?
How would you translate taqwa? I mean, God conscious.
Awareness.
Being aware that Allah is
Yeah. Being on guard. On guard might be good, because it's the hadith, right?
Fear, I don't say fear.
But fear, I think is distracting. Yeah, something like that. But
How is
beyond
discipline not coming here?
I would connect discipline more with sabr, because sabr is perseverance. Along those lines. Okay. Any final questions about anything at all? So what is the overall discussion? It's about belief in things that are beyond physics. Yes. Yeah. It's hard for a jinn to change. Jinns can change, but it's hard. Yeah. Like, for example, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, was coming back from Taif, then he received Surah Al-Jinn. And what's the beginning of Surah Al-Jinn? These jinns are listening, and they hear the Quran, then they go tell their fellow jinns that, look, we've heard something wondrous, and it's calling you to believe in everything. So jinns do become Muslim. Jinns do take Shahada. You even find this in exorcist practice, that sometimes the Muslim exorcist will compel or the jinn to become Muslim as the jinn is leaving the person. But the basic point being is that some people say it's hard for a good jinn to become bad or a bad jinn to become good, but it can happen. Human. Meaning for a human, 1 second I can disobey Allah, next second I can obey Allah. Yes?
Yes, I think you've mentioned it a few times. This one when he talks about the incident of Adam Salam's creation and how he was asked to bow down to him. More than once, Allah specifically says he asked only the angel.
Yes.
Not generally. And we all bowed except
Iblis, yeah.
Except Iblis. And yet we have this very dogmatic understanding. I think I understand, but very dogmatic approach that he was definitely not an angel.
Sure.
It's something that we can say for sure one way or the other.
I mean, it says later on he's a jinn.
In the Quran?
In Surah Al-Kahf, Surah 18.
Now, a jinn
Ayah
could
50?
also be an invisible being, right?
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. The fact that he was not an angel or was an angel, based on the way it is described in those ayahs about bowing down to Adam and Salam, there's angels there.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I think I understand your question now. Okay, so if we look at, what is it, Ayah 34?
Appears more than once.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So, فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ. Okay. So we said to the angels to sajda before Adam, and then they did sajda, but not Iblis. Okay. You can read this to mean, for example, we told all of the students to stand, but they all stood, but not the donkey. Right? Meaning, illa Iblis does not imply, in terms of the text, that he is an angel. Meaning, it could be, another way to read it is that, okay, they all did sajda, but not the human. They all did sajda, but not the teacher. Or if I said, okay, all the students stand up, and all the students stood up, but not the teacher. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So some read this to say that this is still a command that's binding on him. Others say that he could have said to Allah, when Allah said, why did you not follow my command? He could have said, I'm not an angel. The command is for jinns. So, but the point is, all the things he could have said, he still gave the wrong answer because he refused. Yes?
We don't know that there isn't parts of the story that are left out.
Sure.
Lessons are left out. He could have told everyone present and then so you can't say for sure.
Yeah. But the question is actually, is this negate the possibility that he's an angel? Right. This is what you're asking. Right. So what I do say, Dawood, 1850. Because Muhammad Asad makes the argument that the jinns are not what we are speaking about, right? He goes against the common grain in the understanding of this. Yeah. He was of the jinn. Illa Iblis wa kana min al jinn. Yeah.
Sometimes order to the Prophet, you have to do
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a nice point. That there are other examples of instruction like that. Yeah. Yes, sir, Muhammad.
What did you mean when you said human nafs is stronger than 16 nafs?
So we are taught that in our culture, we often speak of the devil himself being the cause of all the things that we do wrong. And I'm saying more often than not, and almost always, it's actually us, without the devil. With or without the devil. This I learned from a scholar, and I don't know if he was speaking as a wisdom or if he's quoting a narration. That the nafs is worse than 60 devils. Yeah.
So in Hajj we threw stones, and for the last 1500 years people are throwing stones to kill the devil.
Yeah, you're not killing the devil.
You cannot see him. He's very powerful with every human being and stuff. It has to be built into the human system.
Sure.
Something is very much in the whole complex issue of human existence.
But meaning, you're not killing the devil in Hajj anyway, right?
I think the point that you're making with what your teacher told you is that he's not very powerful. All he has the ability to do is whisper.
Yeah.
It's a rare case where it's an exorcism where there's actually strong influence. Most of the time it's just us. He just goes, hey, look at that, look at that.
And Ramadan is proof of that, right? We don't all become angels during Ramadan. Even you could say, okay, maybe a week into Ramadan we can become angels because we're so used to doing wrong. But no, usually a week into Ramadan we're even worse, right?
So he makes the psychological hatred bigger on you. When it doesn't exist, your anger. When there's no anger, maybe small, but then he makes
he makes your decisions feel like life or death. Any other questions about anything? Okay. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Right, may Allah reward you all for your participation, and may Allah give all of you a safe ride home. Wa akhir da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Sorry? We are behind 2 weeks. So the class will probably end the 30th, whatever that Saturday is. Yeah, inshallah.
So you're going to mention a story after the camera?
Yeah, let's get off camera.